From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not. Let's do this before we get into that outline. Not sure if you're in that camp or that camp. Do you like the snow or not? So there you have it. That's a look at Terry Peak this morning. We'll talk more about that coming up later because that is the first thing that is in our outline. As we do talk Terry Peak snow, we had that this morning. You can see some accumulation on our live cam pattern. Cooler weather is here. Also looking at hopefully better chances for, I'd call it precipitation, not calling it just rain, but precipitation. This cooler air around. And we'll end things with some garden pictures. And, of course, we'll talk to meteorologist Brian Karstens during all of this as well. So here's Futurecast for you today. We have a couple of rain showers that may hold as we go into the early part of the afternoon, otherwise clearing skies for the afternoon hours. And it will be a cool day. Temperatures in the 50s in western South Dakota, 60s for just about everybody else. And watch tonight, too. There's a chance that we can see temperatures fall to the upper 30s. We fell to 35 this morning in Aberdeen. Some of those 30s may be a little more widespread tomorrow morning for eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. So we fell to around 44 in Sioux Falls. It's the coldest I saw it this morning. Probably be a little cooler. I know some of the short-term modeling suggesting that temperatures may fall closer to 40 in Sioux Falls. So we'll watch that as we get into the overnight hours. Dry for tomorrow, dry for Wednesday. A stronger southerly wind on Wednesday. That will help us warm. We'll have temperatures return to the 70s in many locations, even a chance for some to hit 80 by Wednesday. Nothing like that today. Highs in the 50s and 60s. We continue to follow maybe a couple of afternoon showers that may hold for the early part of this afternoon in southeastern KELOLAND. Then watch these temperatures tonight. We'll fall close to 40, I would say, across the area. Probably need to change that 45 tonight in Pierre, closer to 40 for central South Dakota. And you see, same thing, western, eastern KELOLAND with those temperatures near 40 degrees with mostly clear skies. Stay with us. We'll be joined by Brian Karstens coming up. I love my sound effects.
You have fun with those, Scott.
So it's either that camp or this one.
There's no in between. Well,
in between is just silence.
Yeah, probably. But hey, yeah, it snowed a little bit this morning. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that.
There it is. From earlier this morning, during the overnight, early morning hours, we were following this during KELOLAND this morning with Terry Peak live cam, able to see at least a little bit of accumulation there. Very cool, too. The hills may only stay in the 40s for highs today.
Right, yeah. 47 is our going high in Custer today. So quite a change in the weather, and it looks like we'll keep the momentum going, at least for a little while. It's going to warm up, of course, later in the week, but as long as we can keep these below normal temperatures going, it counteracts some of the extreme warmth that we've had for such a long time, Scott.
Yeah, today the forecast high is 63 in Sioux Falls. The average high is 67. Okay, so we'll be a little bit below average. I think that breaks a streak of at least 2 weeks of having above average highs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes back until the 20th.
Yeah,
so it's around 2 weeks.
It's been quite a stretch, and a lot of that has been in the 80s and even the 90s several times.
Those overnight lows have only been in the 60s.
Well, right, and that should tell you a lot about this pattern. So a little correction. So we're trying to find some equilibrium here, a little baseline trend downward. We will come back up that temperature scale this week. There's no question about that. It's going to warm up at least through the 70s, and eventually we will have to wrangle with the idea of some 80-degree weather. at the end of the week.
Yeah, I don't think that's far off, but let's keep this theme of snow going. The first average measurable snow, now saying at least 1/10 of an inch of snowfall. Since records have been kept, Lee, Deadwood, looking at October 4th, that was just a couple of days ago, so seeing this snow into parts of the hills, not too surprising. Rapid City usually waits until the 22nd of October, and into central and central South Dakota, we usually wait until November. Maybe that first week and a half of November, we'll start to see some measurable snow. And the same holds true for much of eastern and northeastern South Dakota. November 4th is their average in Aberdeen, November 5th in Huron, southeastern KELOLAND, November 5th in Sioux Falls, November 3rd in Worthington. So, we've had our cool downs, but really hasn't been cold enough to maybe support a couple of flakes of snow with overnight lows in the 30s. In northeastern South Dakota this morning, Aberdeen felt 35. Middle 40s in southeastern KELOLAND, but could be a little cooler this time around tonight, going into tomorrow morning.
Correct. And we'll see some 30s. We'll see a little patchy frost. One thing to remember, though, is the Weather Service, when we look at western South Dakota, we've already had some frost advisories this season.
Yeah, going back to September, I think September 6th, we fell to the low to middle 30s.
Yeah, so this will be comparable to that, but if you're a person that you're still trying to keep your tomatoes growing and you live West River, for one thing, or even, the outskirts around Sioux Falls, I'm not really too concerned about frost tomorrow morning, but 36, 37, possibility.
Now, would you cover anything? Or is it late enough in the year you'd be like, it's late enough?
I'm just kind of that point now, too, where, and a lot of our garden, too, has kind of faded with the dry weather. It just, I've got tomatoes out there that, if I really was concerned about a frost, I might go pick tonight, but I'm not there yet.
I picked yesterday. And I'll show you why coming up later.
You are going to be busy with some salsa
I'm already
making.
busy.
You've got a lot of... Yeah, you showed me that picture earlier. I'm trying to work on some pictures from our garden. I'll get these ready to go here in a little bit. But we had some fun yesterday. A couple days ago, we picked some gourds and pumpkins and that kind of stuff.
Now you throw those. Do you throw those outside as decoration, things like that?
Yeah, we do. We tend to have a few inside as well, but mostly fall display outside and. Yeah, we'll just see what we get to. But, we've got a few things that kind of make it kind of fun.
Okay, we'll talk more about this garden. I'll let you get your pictures together.
Yes, I will grab those for you.
I'll talk a little bit about this pattern and some cooler weather coming. In fact, I want to start with this. This is what we've been watching. Seems like over the past month and a half when we said, okay, let's watch these cool mornings that we've had in Aberdeen going back since the summer. And if you've been watching this program, you've probably seen this graphic. So we are averaging it out to about a 45-day cycle. When Aberdeen, just using Aberdeen as our subject here, when we've cooled with these temperatures in the 30s and 40s during the summer months. You see that for June, July, and August. And the time frame between those dates average out to about 45 days. So that brings in another hit of cold air October 6th. Well, that's today when Aberdeen fell to 35. So what's the number when we go out another 40 to 45 days? That takes us into November. That's November 14th through 19th. If this pattern still holds true, we'll see if it does, but it could happen maybe middle of November to get a reinforcing shot of some colder air. And I'll just hold it at Aberdeen. I'll continue to use Aberdeen as our subject here for watching this cycle as we do go forward. So that is something that we'll continue to follow. This is the 500 millibar pattern, and we'll go through time with this one as well. In fact, you can see that we stopped it a couple of times here. This is later this week. This is when we are expected to warm up. We have high pressure. I'll go ahead and draw this in. To our south, into Texas, we have an area of low pressure that's trying to make its way across the Pacific Northwest. I'll draw that in just to the northwest of Seattle. And there's actually a tropical system that's trying to come in here on the Baja of California. And the way that this is setting up, and we have the rotation around high, rotation around low, anything that does sneak in here, this is where our moisture may come from, is from the southwest to bring in maybe some chances of rain here in the KELOLAND. I know I'm drawing a lot there on the map. But as we do go through time, when we hit this coming weekend, that's looking pretty good. The same setup there. So any moisture that we're able to stream in from the southwest, we might be able to see that move through the upper plains, including us in KELOLAND, as we do go through this weekend. There's the second half of the weekend. On Sunday, we have something trying to go on to our north. Now, again, we're looking at the 500 millibar. So that's a decent trough trying to move through maybe Montana, into Wyoming, eventually trying to get into the upper plains. So as Brian, you mentioned this before, we have this, back and forth, this tug of war going on as we are changing the seasons. It just seems like we're changing these seasons late in the year than we are. It's October.
Well, right. Yeah. And maybe that's the big takeaway here is we had a little longer extended summer. Now, this little back and forth here is, interesting to say the least. I do think it's curious that, when we talk about chances of rain coming around Texas and coming up from the tropics like that,
we saw that in the summer. I know we saw that in the summer. I just don't remember the dates.
Oh yeah. We've seen some periods of time like that. It's just that
was it after that cold snap? I should remember this because then that goes along with the pattern and the cycle that we're in.
Yeah. We've had, I would say several events where we've had some tropical moisture that's come up from that direction, but some of it is geared south or, kind of deflected from here. But at the same time, we also have Canadian air that's trying to maneuver. So you're going to see a little bit of this playing out in the 10-day forecast. Which pieces pull out? Like, for example, I see you've got the 18th.
What do you think of this?
That's quite a feature, isn't it?
And the one thing, and we'll try to get to this in the next graphic too, that's a pretty good feature, as you mentioned, to bring in some cold air. The problem is, if you want to call it a problem, is the air cold coming in from Canada by the time we get into the 18th of October?
Right, and that really hinges on stopping this modified Pacific air coming into Canada. If it's more of an Arctic connection, the polar regions, then it really starts to get chilly. So you've got a cranking mechanism there. That's kind of a break-off low that comes off the pattern, kind of spins away, doesn't it, across Quebec? So those are always interesting things that can pop in here in the modeling. And I'm sure, too, as you overlay the precipitation forecast, I see here you've got the drapery of the warmth, the above normal temperatures coming back.
Above normal temperatures as we do go through the week. We'll continue slowly moderating temperatures, get back above average. As Brian mentioned before, 70, 80-degree weather, not out of the question. And something that we talked about last week is we just had the cool to bring in better chances for rain. And now that we have cooled, we'll watch over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, maybe these steady hits of rain that try to move through. That's going October 13th, so that's a week out from now. Still looking at those above-average temperatures across eastern KELOLAND, maybe a little bit below across western South Dakota. I'll expand the view, hit the button again, because I think our next stop is when we had that low settle across the Great Lakes. So that kind of drowns it out a little bit, but I don't see any real connection to that Arctic cold that you mentioned, Brian. Anything that's really bitter cold into Canada during that time. Sure, it shows some below average temperatures, but look at this. It goes all the way back into western Canada with these below average temperatures. And just by looking at that, that could be a northwest pattern. Maybe once we get there, we can see more seasonal air or maybe even stay a little bit below average.
Yep, it's definitely something that keeps our curiosity going. So I think that there's enough on the table there to keep watching.
All right, we'll watch that snow trend, and that's our next topic of discussion. Stay with us. I am not starting with the booze. I've done that enough. People are probably predicting that or forecasting that. I'll probably start with the booze when this graphic shows up, but
no,
not doing that.
We got to pause. Well, at least let's give it a little time to kind of sort out. We watch this about every program, right? Mm-hmm. Keeping track of the snow trends. So where are we at now as we start off here on a Monday?
Well, the snow depth, we do have that into Montana and Wyoming. And you were mentioning, I need to update that graphic. That was out here maybe a week or two ago in the Colorado, where they had 4 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. In fact, knowing me, I'll probably forget. So let me go ahead and get into this graphic right now, and I'll just change it on the fly. But you were telling me a story of they had to get the shovels out and move snow off the football fields. Is that right?
Well, Laramie,
in
Wyoming. Yeah, there were football games out there, and I know a friend of the family was out there and, made a comment about that. So west of Cheyenne, a lot of snow in Wyoming. Now, the question is, where do we go next? We've had our little bit of snow today in the Black Hills, just a little teaser. But in the mountains, you bet you can start picking up some more October snowfalls. So it'll be interesting to watch the next week or two.
And this is over the next 2 weeks for us. We could still pick up some snows there into the higher elevations of the hills. Otherwise, a lot of it will continue to stay out to our west. And you remember seeing that graphic with those below average temperatures into western Canada? Well, look at that. They want to continue to add snow into that area too. And what is it that Jay Trobeck says about snow in Canada? More so, I think, in the spring. As long as there's snow up there, don't expect any warm-ups anytime soon.
Well,
so if they start to get their blanket of snow going, we'll have to watch our temperatures for the upper plains.
Right. I mean, that all builds into the winter forecast. When you start to see the depth of the snow, and it's got to stick around. So, it's a process. It's got to snow, and then it'll melt, and then it'll come back. But let's keep an eye on that because October snow is one big item that weighs into the winter forecast because then you start to chill that air off, and then you kind of set up that breeding ground. But we're pretty early yet, Scott, on this whole thing. So this next 10 days kind of gets us, some baseline features. I'm kind of going with that theme today. We're trying to set new baselines on where we need to be or where we should be for this time of the year.
Well, it helps that we got rid of some of that 80 and 90 degree heat.
Right. Needed to kind of push that aside, kind of let the weather patterns sort of find some equilibrium here. And so that's what we see this week. We've got, we're going to bounce around, but we're not going to see the extreme levels, at least not right away. I never say never on the weekend. If it warms up and we get back in the 80s, you heard it here on this program. I'm not going to shy away from that idea. Now, the ground is so dry, Scott.
Oh, I know.
It can warm in the 80s. You and I have seen this many times.
And the latest 90 in Sioux Falls is October 15th, 92 degrees. I forgot what year.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's on the table. As much as we don't want to talk about it, but it is. All right, so here's your the snow trend graphic, right?
I changed this, okay? Now, instead of doing October 10th, because that's just around the corner, I'll do October 20th, 30th, and November 10th. This is what the models are thinking as to when we could have our first snowfall, measurable snow, I should say, across Sioux Falls and for Rapid City. And this goes off of this graphic, too. I just count the members. There's 100 members here, and I count those members as to which ones are saying that, yes, we will have some measurable snow. Compare that to the dates. That's on the bottom of the screen. And there's 100 there, so it's easy to do that percentage as we do go back to this graphic. And I did an average, too. I have to change that. It says average since the 16th of September, just because I'm starting with November 10th now. I'll just label that as average over the past, over the next several days as I continue to keep track of this. So only one model saying it by October 20th in Sioux Falls, and the average is less than 1% since the middle of September. Okay, So we're not overly concerned about that, but that number is slowly going up, around 8% by the 30th, and then getting close to 25%, 1 in 4 chance to see some measurable snow by the 10th of November. But it's much higher into western South Dakota. And the climate average for snowfall in Rapid City is 3 inches in October. It's 1.5 inches for October in Sioux Falls. And then, of course, that goes up in November. But you do see these chances by the tail end of October. It's over 50% in Rapid City, and it jumps to around 85% by the time we get into that week and a half of beginning of November.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting to see the numbers. Of course, you'd expect them to go up as you go farther out in time. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sioux Falls, the normal average first date of measurable snow is November 5th?
4th or 5th.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's interesting that the percentage on the model is only at 23%. chance that we pick up measurable snow by the 10th of November, when you consider the average date should be November 5th.
It's before then.
So now, of course, there's different ways we can measure that. If that's the, thinking of offhand here on this. But, I mean, those numbers to me seem a little low if you're comparing it to just to an average year, right?
Right. You would think it should probably come in around 50.
Yeah.
Either does or it doesn't.
Correct.
And if our average is around the 4th or 5th of November, then by November 10th, you would think, it should be at least 50%.
Yeah. And it's probably exhausting a lot of this warm air in the pattern, too. Mm-hmm. It's just, a lot of days are still quite warm, above normal. Even though they're not as much above normal, they're above normal. And so the gravity, the inertia behind that, it probably cascades into that long-range forecast. I see that a lot of times when it starts kind of warm, it tends to kind of get on that train, and then it sort of sits there. So let's see if there's a catalyst that changes some of this. I always think that that's an interesting sidebar too, because I remember back in June when we were concerned about the dry weather, and I remember some of these 45-day forecasts were they were pessimistic about South Dakota in July. And then we changed. We had some very key factors that started moving. And then all of a sudden, you started seeing that 45-day starting to pick up on some wet weather. I remember that very well. So it's there, the signals are there. They're not the highest numbers, but give this the next 10 days. I'd like to see what can change in just between today on the 6th of October, and then let's push this into the middle of the month, the 16th, and see if we can start identifying those factors a little bit more.
If this graphic starts to get a little more colorful with the more model data coming in, days going by, we should start to see more members suggesting that, yes, we will have measurable snow by such and such date.
Right. And we'll be able to see the teleconnections playing out too, and just a lot of factors that start blending.
You want to talk about that control model there? In blue?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. The blue line.
That's this line down here.
Yeah, that's the one that jumps, doesn't it? So it's actually more robust around the end of the month, Halloween, and getting into 1st of November. So, sure, you'll see that jump once in a while.
Right.
I think that gives us a little noise, a little extra food for thought. But the bar graph, the lower numbers on the bottom, that's the average.
That's the average, yep.
Those are not too high of numbers, Scott. And frankly, too, just the total rain or precipitation in this pattern the next 45 days is also, there's the bar graph. So, you get to an inch by, the end of the month here, maybe a little bit more than that. But that's still not exactly a wet month, is it?
No, and we'll watch and see what happens. But, of course, that slowly goes up. As we go toward getting close to the 20th of November is at the very end. It wants to say maybe around 2.5 inches total.
Yeah. But do you remember last fall? We had 2 inches of rain in November. I remember that because we were so dusty and
dry in September.
Finally, it rained.
And I think we had a little bit in October last year.
Yeah, just a little bit. But it was November rain that was actually the saving grace. It gave the roots a little bit of water going into the winter. I sure hope we don't have to wait till November to get some decent, a good 2-inch soaker. But, boy, my ground. I mean, I know it's different. Different areas of South Dakota are wetter, and they've been fine with a little drier snap. I'm just not one of those spots. I think I could speak for a lot of folks in southeastern South Dakota right now.
Yeah, you're not alone in that either. And I know my yard's been very dry too. But the garden seems to be doing okay. I don't water it as often as I was during the summertime. I still water it. I might be done. I'll wait and see. I'll look out there and go by the forecast and say, okay, I'll give it a little more hit of water and see what happens. But, Brian, I went out there yesterday and I saw one of my tomato cages leaning over.
Need some help.
Yeah, right. It's time to pick some tomatoes, and I did. I
see some red ones in there.
Oh, yeah, I got some decent ones out of there, too, and this is what I was able to pick. I'll probably have to sauce these. I don't know if I'll do that today, but over the next couple of days, I'll probably have to do that.
Yep.
And I freeze it, and then when I have time, I'll make another batch of salsa.
That's a great idea. And then you've got it ready to go. You got a supply, so if you get a slower day, you can utilize.
If it ever rains,
right.
and I'm not painting the house because it's raining.
Yeah, how's your painting coming along? Pretty
It's
good?
coming along. I'm starting to
You
slow
just picked
down.
the hottest time of year to do it, though.
Yeah, I know. Friday, I stopped on Friday. I had a couple of things going on.
I bet, yeah.
It was 90, one of them. The second thing is I was on the north side. I was kind of sheltered from the south wind, so I had all those biting gnats, pirate, no-see-ums, whatever you call them.
Oh, so they came
gave
over
up.
there.
I said, you guys win. I'm done. I'm tired. It's 90. I'm going to go clean up, call it good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the good news is, I mean, I guess if there is some good news on this, is that, yeah, we should get some more conducive weather for painting. 70s for highs this week.
I was out yesterday.
Kind of what you would have thought you would have had in mid-September. But
Probably would have had a lot more done, too.
yeah, but that's just kind of how it goes. So,
And your garden's doing okay?
Well, yeah, we found a fun treat yesterday. We were picking gourds, and we had this growing. Okay, so this is our Honeycrisp apple tree. There's a few apples still up there I haven't gotten to, but yeah, you see a couple gourds, but do you see this one in the middle? Right there. So that is a snake gourd. You ever heard of a snake gourd?
No.
Yeah. Now that one there is growing kind of just, doing its thing, but a lot of times they'll kind of curve. There'll be a little S to them, so you can do some fun things. I've seen them get really long before, but this one is sitting so high.
You need a ladder?
I'm going to have to get a little creative to get that thing out of that tree. It's up there probably about 10 feet above my head.
Now, would you let one of your kids climb the tree to go get it?
Oh, my goodness. Don't get me started on that.
Okay.
They all thought they had great ideas to climb the tree to get that out of there yesterday. I said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll figure out a way.
Figure out something else.
Yeah, my stepladder. I'll try. I'll see what I can do. I've got a couple of things that might be accessible. But, isn't that fun, though? You never know. When you have a garden out in the country sometimes, and I kind of put this right by the apple trees. So back in here, too, there's other things growing. There's a Colorado spruce over here. But, yeah, fun to look up and say, whoa, where'd that come from? I didn't see that coming.
Well, I have 2 raised beds, and I looked at it yesterday, and I have my pepper plant. In one of the beds is about as high as the tomato plants are in the other one. And I have never seen, and it's growing peppers at that height, too. I've never seen it like that. It's been a great year for peppers.
Peppers have done very well. And we've had a lot of peppers, too. And, yeah, I'd like to keep those going. That's one reason why I'm okay maybe with a little lesser chance of frost, because I was looking at those yesterday. I'm like, wow, those are some good bell peppers in there, and they'll keep growing if we keep going a little while longer. So my allergies might say otherwise, Scott, though.
Oh, I did take an allergy pill this morning.
Yeah,
I had a couple of sniffles.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'll just pop one just to be safe.
I just, every once in a while it kind of hits me, and then I'm kind of glad I take those just once when I need them. But I'm sure a lot of you out there, too, watching us are probably feeling the same thing.
There have been a lot of sniffles around.
Well, the regular colds are going around, too. So
I have
doesn't
heard
help.
That doesn't help either. That's our time. Thank you for joining us on this latest edition of Weather or Not.